Hello. In my first videos that I made, I showed you many of these illustrations with various different weird things to say, things that are quite difficult to grasp. And in the following illustrations, I'm going to show that in a different way of looking at things. But first, I want to go back to my video that I made about the various different planes of consciousness. And I did forget to add that, of course, there's the physical, the mental, ethereal, astral, and there is the source. And from the source emanates these projections of light. These lights enter our physical body, our mental, and push us forward through the levels of consciousness back to the source. So it is a ray of projections that guides souls toward the source, and all minds are together. So this brings us back to the primary being. Now moving on to the new illustrations that help to explain some of these definitions here. These are illustrations that I made probably in 1997, and I recreated them just a couple days ago and today. So here we go. Now we see things as a loop, in a loop. Gravity was born first. That was the first thing that was formed. We're talking milliseconds before all other energy, and it was the builder of matter. The wave of gravity was very close to the very source of energy itself, but it was the first, sort of like the emanation. Such terms as distance builds dimension over billions of kilometers. There develops a spatial amass. So we see the spatial amass coming back to the first wave particle. And again, here we see how this is the spatial expansion. This is the spatial expansion into spatial contraction. It then draws in on itself and it folds. The infinity enfolds on itself. This spatial amass is creating energy into the contraction. You see all the waves here of energy being drawn back to the first original source, the gravity. Now, going further, we see how what I called in the 1990s was a paraportal or vacuum nodule. It wasn't until several years later that the idea of vacuum nodules or zero points were discovered. That is, that the energy reaches a point of absolute zero, which Tesla knew a lot about. But I'm not a scientist whatsoever of any kind, so I can't prove that to you in any way. So I'm not a threat to anybody. So here we see the process from 1 to 3 happen for a second time. And this is the first hydrogen atom. It's made. Here are the two, the particle, the proton and the electron. This is allegory of the vesica piscis. Charge is the friction of the two curvatures. Anytime anything moves in space-time, anything, even the most microscopic wave to clusters of galaxies, there is a charge that is produced, and that is because of the two curvatures. Now we get into, again, more of the Vesica Piscis. We have the male and the female of the Fibonacci sequence. Now here we see the ratios that produce the angled male creation, and here is the circular female curved creation. You would need to see the theories of the Fibonacci golden ratio to better understand this. So again, here's the Fibonacci ratio spiral. And again, here, this statement here, space times dimension equals intelligence. It's the accumulation of the golden ratios. Oh, misspelled that. Sorry about that. Okay, anyways, time, intelligence is the space and dimension. So that illustrates this statement here. Then we move on to infinity confines itself spatially. So now we see again the drawback to the source, and again the second curve comes in, which is the exact opposite, creates the second curvature of space-time. Now this eventually moves on into infinities. The figure 8 continues to multiply endlessly. Now again in this Vesica Piscis is eternity is divided infinitely by the stretching of the infinitesimal space. The infinitesimal is stretching space into time. The light is the radiation of time and space being squeezed. The infinitesimal is the stretching of space and time. So these are all like blankets being stretched, and the more they're stretched like crystals, the more you press upon crystals, the more energy it's going to create. The universe is magnetic and also embroidered, like the embroidery of hair. Both curvatures create each other. Now again, we see this here as the first creation of the hydrogen atom. And the figure 8 creates the hydrogen atom. Then it creates helium, as well as the third dimension, the third west, north, south, west, the 4 directions. Again, it swirls back to the center. This is helium. And then we get the 4-leafed clover here, carbon, which is of course human beings. The curvatures keep coming back to the center and initiating more and more and more and more and more of these cycles, which creates more and more electrons around the protons and the neutrons. So this infinity symbol continues on for infinity, spiraling from its beginning to the infinity we have now, back and forth. And again, this infinity is all clustered. These are the clustered examples. So a field, any field, to be called a field is actually a field of folding spatial infinity. All right, so I hope that helped you to understand more of some of these concepts that are in my first videos. And so thank you very much for listening, and pretty soon I will continue with the stanzas of Dasein. Okay, so thank you.